Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I have an awesome video for you guys today. Now if you hear some noise in the background, it is raining like crazy right now. So just don't mind it. Well, it might be soothing actually. Well, let's jump right into the video. Check this out. We are seeing a change in the housing market. Some people are claiming that the recession is over. The worst has already come. And let's read this article because this is basically breaking news. It's pretty insane. I want to jump, after I read this article, I'm going to jump into the Redfin weekly housing market data and actually look at the numbers because this just helps to actually see the graph. But here, let's start. Lower mortgage rates boost U.S. home sales in February. Now, just want to give you guys a quick recap. We have high inflation, so the feds are basically raising the rates, and everyone is fearing that the Fed rate hike is going to cause a recession because it makes borrowing more expensive. And as a result, it makes it harder to do business. A lot of businesses out there, guys, run on credit, right? And they're borrowing money, they're paying off the loans or whatever. Supermarkets are a great example. For example, supermarkets on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, they are borrowing money in order to, keep the production going, right? The staff, the lights, electricity, whatever. And that is just a simple example, but you could also see how higher rates, slow down the housing market because it becomes more expensive to borrow, and basically you have less people that could qualify. Right now, what's happening is that we have super high prices for homes. During coronavirus, when the rates dropped down to zero, people with the means took advantage of the opportunity. And the problem was that we had very, very low supplies, and it just made the housing prices skyrocket. At the same time, people were refinancing their mortgages to incredibly low rates. So anybody working in the mortgage industry, they probably had their best year of ever that they're probably ever going to have. Now what's happening is nobody wants to move, nobody wants to sell their house. Nobody wants to give up on that 2 to 3% mortgage rate, right? So they're just sitting tight, paying off their loan. Now that's great for anybody who is already owns a home, but what happens to the people that want to buy a home? Well, they're pretty screwed because the supply is still very low. But let me jump into this article because now what's happening real quick is that because the rates are going up, we're starting to see businesses fail. We're starting to see layoffs. And it's freaking out the feds, and it's freaking out the government, because the government does not want to see a big crash, because what happens if they see a big crash is that they're going to have to basically fund to get back on track, which would mean we would have to print more money, which would mean probably higher inflation in the future. So they're in a tough situation. So the feds have been raising the interest rates, and it's starting to have an impact. And now they're saying, oh my God, let's pull back a little bit here because, they don't want to basically get into an awful crash just like the one we had during coronavirus. So they're freaked out. So there's signs that they might slow down the rate hikes. And as a result, people that were like on the sidelines, getting ready to jump in, they're jumping in right now. They're making the prices go up. And look, check this out. In February, existing home sales jumped 14.5%. The median house price falls 0.2%, which is not that much, to 363,000 from a year ago today. That means we're still keeping basically the same prices from last year. And supply increased by 15% year to year to almost 1 million units. Now let me jump to this part of the article where this chief economist says, it's too early to declare the home sales recession over, but the decline in mortgage rates allowed buyers to dip their toes back into the market. So that's basically what's happening. We're seeing a small little break right now, and people that were like I said, people on the sidelines said, I want to jump in. Now, this article does say the supply is still tight, okay? And that is going to be a big problem. That is going to keep the prices high. Now, let's jump over to the Redfin weekly housing market data. I love this website. I do have a link to this down in the description below, so go ahead and check this out. So this is the median sale price. This is what's actually sold, okay? This is the real, rubber hits the asphalt data. So this black line right here is 2022. This blue line right here is 2023. And as you can see, this is 2021. And just to give you a perspective, I'm going to light up here 2020. Now, these jumps that we saw in the last 3 years are really, really high. It doesn't allow for me to have like 2019, but if you were to look at 2019, the graph is really close to this 2020. These are huge jumps, and the reason we had these huge jumps is because of the low interest rates. But as you can see, there is no more jumps for the housing market. Now the housing market is stable with last year's prices. The only thing is that we need to look at this and think, a lot of us, including myself included, believe that the housing prices are already way too high. We should have been, we should be more close. Like if there was no coronavirus and everything was just business as usual, we probably be right now at these 2021 levels right now. So that means most likely, 2021 would have been here, 2022 would have been here, and then 2023 would have been like where the prices that we had back, after coronavirus was going away. So I do believe it's incredibly inflated right now. And one of the things that I believe is that when you have situations like this where people think, oh my God, it's just going to keep going up. This sucks. I'm never going to afford a house. It creates this uncertainty in people, and they just want to jump in because they really want to buy that house, right? And it creates basically FOMO. And FOMO is what fuels these bubbles. I do believe we're in a bubble. I do believe that if the Feds slow down the interest rate hikes, we are going to have higher inflation for longer. And as a result, that could be very bad for the economy because basically everything's going to be more expensive, and our wages are not going to be able to keep up with regular living expenses. And then a lot of companies are going to go out of business. It's going to create more unemployment. It's going to create a huge crash. So that is what happens when you have high inflation. So it's either we pull up our pants now and just, tighten the belt now and just get ready for a fight, or we're going to have an awful, awful crash later. It's whatever we want to do. But you can see how every government is going to want to push the can down the road, right? That's why would they want to take responsibility for the crash under their watch, right? They're not going to want to do that. So if they could hold it off and kick it down to the next person, they're going to do that because they have basically something to run on, and nobody likes bad news. But the thing is, it's just I do fear that if we can't get inflation under control, if we can't pay back our debt, and especially with the world turmoils that we're having with all these wars in Ukraine and China, whatever you want to talk about, I just think we're in a very vulnerable state. And I still feel like the economy is running really hot. And, we're seeing how the interest rate hikes, took out that one bank in Silicon Valley Bank. And basically because they couldn't stay afloat when money became more expensive. Now, is that going to happen across the United States? We're going to have to find out. But that could affect a lot of businesses, which then if those businesses get affected, then you could have situations where you're going to have mass layoffs. Now, I'm going to do more research on Silicon Valley Bank, but you could see if a lot of businesses, a lot of startups were using Silicon Valley Bank for funding, and suddenly Silicon Valley Bank goes out of business, those startups are not going to have that funding. They're going to be trying to raise money on their own, and they could basically go out of business. Startups are great, but they're not a working business, right? Like they don't generate their own money and pay for their bills. They always need seed money, investment money to, basically subsidize their growth. And when these types of banks and institutions go out of business, well, it makes it a lot harder for them to stay afloat, right? Because they're not going to have that cash, man, that cash that you need. So this is what it's looking like, guys. If we look at homes sold, you could see we're still, there's more homes being sold, but we're still way down, guys. We're below that 2020 level still, but it is rising very sharply. Now we're going into summer. Hopefully we see more sales. Again, there was a 14% increase and everyone is happy. And here is the new listed median price. So people are pricing their houses higher than last year, just not by much, right? By a little bit. But when it does sell, it is selling for about $30,000 cheaper. Now, one of the things about this article that I did like is that, let me find it right here. The bulk of the sales were concentrated in the $200,000 and $500,000 price bracket. That is a great sign for me. Why? Because that means that this is the middle class, right? The middle class is buying homes between $250,000 and $500,000. So I think that's a great thing. And, just knowing that that was the bulk is letting me know that somebody's buying houses, right? Somebody's doing it, and it's keeping those prices, it's keeping that market hot. I'm going to just give you my personal analysis. If I was going to jump into the market, if you have access to the loan right now, like if you have a pre-approval letter and you got all the paperwork, W-2s, down payment, it wouldn't be a bad idea to jump in. If you think you're going to be employed in about a year where you're going to have the same amount of resources, yeah, like looking for a house later, like around December, it's probably going to be your best bet because the prices drop. Prices go up in the summer because summer is more desirable to buy a house. Prices drop in the winter. So if you can, probably find something that you like, a neighborhood that you like, but definitely go and buy it in the winter, right? Because prices will be lower, less demand, weaker demand, and you could save quite a bit of money. You know how much you'll be saving if we look at 2022 at the height of summer and basically in June, homes were at 388, but later that year, or if you look at the year before, they were at 347. So that's almost $40,000, $50,000 difference on the median price. So if you want to save $50,000, if you found a house, I found a house that I like, and it's about $450,000 right now. And I was saying, I wonder what the price is going to be come December. It might be closer to 400. Maybe I could sneak in under 300. And I'm not in a hurry because, I want to see where this thing goes, but that would be a great situation. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and finish this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you were entertained. And I love making these videos. So if you guys like my commentary, if you like my voice, if you like me, please don't forget to smash that subscribe button and go ahead and like and leave a comment. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next video.